Okay, welcome back to Closing Trades. We'll just get in a word with a banking major as well. Union Bank of India have cut the base rate. But very quickly, before we do that, a word on the European markets. And Bundeep Rangar, chairman of IndusView, joins us on the phone line from London. Bundeep, really appreciate you taking this time twice in a row to join us. But I'm just wondering if towards the fag end of the year, we were speaking about, yesterday we were speaking about how the rupee and the way it has moved is also a big problem for how things would shape up for India in particular. Just a word really on how do you think the dollar versus the euro equation would shape up over the next 3 months, and what kind of impact could that have on the Eurozone markets?
The dollar versus the euro. Well, the euro is certainly down the last couple of days, and in some ways it's being weighed in by the problems within some of the European countries, like Italy is a big culprit here, and the sale of the Italian bonds is a key figure to watch out for, because that has a negative impact, or at least had a negative impact the past few days on the euro, and the general growth projections for the U.S. are slightly better than that of the Eurozone. So I suspect that the dollar will strengthen versus the euro in the next 6 months time frame, and that certainly has an impact on perceptions of rupee to euro and rupee to dollar.
Okay. And, I was just looking at what the markets were doing. I mean, yesterday, the European markets cracked quite a bit after the after the ECB balance sheet expanded to record highs. What do you make of that?
Well, you look at the euro also versus against the yen, it's like at a 10-year low, and look at Japan's deal with India. It's going to be a tricky one. I think the euro is going to the Eurozone in general is going to be in the short term, a tricky one for economists to predict any kind of major turnaround. I think it's going to be a slow, protracted recovery, and given that the ECB has limited ability to fight it, and they have to work in tandem with the IMF, and they've got certainly plans to do that. But a lot of it will depend on what actually materializes over the next 6 months in this sort of concerted action between the ECB and the IMF to make sure that two things don't happen. One, no European country falls off the rails, such as Greece, which is probably the most susceptible. And two, the euro itself as a currency doesn't become so weakened that it becomes negligible in terms of other countries looking at that as either a reserve or a backup currency vis-a-vis the US dollar. And those are two things that I think the EU is going to really make sure that do not happen. No failure of the Eurozone, and that the euro currency is propped up to make sure it still remains a highly relevant currency.
All right, Bundeep, leave it at that. Thanks so much for joining in today. You have a good new year. Thanks so much for taking the time out.
Just to highlight, just bring up the index for you. I think there's a fresh bout of selling that's coming into the market. 1% in excess, 1.25%. That's a slide in just the last few minutes of trade below the 4650 marker as we speak. 4640 coming in for the Nifty, and we're looking at some key stocks giving way in trade at this juncture. Should bring up the IT pack, because that's where the crack has been most pronounced. Infosys, TCS,